meeting. Welcome to another session of our cross-homo youth conversation, I'll call it, because it's a conversation with our youth. We want them involved. We want them empowered. We want them to make the right choices when they're doing things. So what we're doing here is trying to get our youth's attention in understanding the deen so they can make the right choices. For today's segment, I'll be handing over to Sister Yasmin, who's one of our youth. I was going to be hosting the trust section of this session today, and she'll be talking about mental health. So I'm going to hand over to Sister Yasmin. So Sister Yasmin, if you can unmute yourself, and I think you were sharing your slides. If you can share your slides, and let's listen to you. I've looked at it. I think it's really interesting. So may Allah reward you for putting this together.
Assalamu alaikum. Can everyone hear me?
Wa alaikum salam. We can hear you loud and clear.
I'm trying to share my screen, but it says at the moment host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Okay, right. So I'm going to call Abiba or Amira, if you could please give the co-host option to Sister Yasmin so she's able to share. So we can all sort of look at the slides as she's talking us through it.
She should be able to share the screen now.
Okay, so click on Sister Yasmin. If you click on the green button in the middle that says share, then you should be able to, there you go. Yeah.
Can you guys see everything?
You can see it, yes.
Okay.
Nice and beautiful. MashaAllah.
Okay, let me just make this bigger. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Some people may know me, some people don't.
Wa alaikum salam.
Some people may know me, some people don't. My name is Yasmin. I'm a second-year medical student. I currently live in Manchester, but I grew up in Ireland. My mum is an old age psychiatrist. So this whole presentation, it's inspired by her, and she really helped me put this together so I can give you guys the right information. So the aim of today's, I don't like the word lecture. It's not a lecture. I'm not lecturing anyone. It's more of a presentation. I could say that. The aim of it today is just for us all to understand what mental health is, what Islam says about it, and what du'as and practices we can use in our everyday life that can help us with our mental health. So the first thing that we're going to do, I actually made a little questionnaire / kind of icebreaker to get us started. So if everyone can go onto this right now, it's ahaslides.com, and the code is today's date, 12/09/21. It's just quick 5 questions just to get us started, and we can get started on everything. And I also just want to make a quick attention. All information in this presentation are from scientific articles and research papers by credited authors and scholars. Majority of the referencing has been used from the NHS website and a book that my mum gave me called Don't Be Sad. And any additional information that has been used, the links are attached to each slide. And also, I'm not yet a licensed physician, and if you relate or experience any of these symptoms in the presentation, please seek medical help. Okay, I just had to put that out there, and now we can get started. So you guys can just type this in your Safari, your phones, everything, and you should see the first question. So I'm also going to do it on my phone. Is everyone on the website?
Actually, I'm not. I don't know what it is. I think I'm struggling to.
Okay, so
You have to put the HTTPS, or you could just search for AHA.
literally just type in this right here. Maybe I'll copy and paste it onto the chat. It's ahaslides.com.
/120921.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not coming on my phone. I don't know why. I'll try from a different browser.
Okay, just type in AHA slides, and at the top it says, "Are you a participant?" And you can put the code in.
AHA slides. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, I think that's better. Yeah, so it's not point.
Assalamu alaikum. It's already on the chat box. Just click from it, from your chat box, please.
Go through, because I'm using a different
website.
Phone. So some people might be using a different phone. But I think I've got it now. Thank you for that. So you can just click on join. So some people might need to search for AHA slides, like Sister Yasmin said, and then click on join. So then you ask for a code. Okay, it's coming up with a message. It's saying participants limit exceeded. So how many are we allowed to?
I believe
what's coming up for me here.
I'm not too sure because it's also my first time using it.
Okay, so that's fine. I think for those
we'll go through it. We'll go through it all together.
Sure.
So
I think that's the best way. So if you just sort of, as you're doing it, talk through it, and then we can pick it up by the end.
So I think a lot of people have actually already done this because I'm seeing good scores. Okay. So the first question was, do you know anyone that has struggled with their mental health? And 57% of you said yes. Oh, and it's changed. Someone just put in their score. So 62% said yes, and 37.5% said no. Okay. Have you struggled with your mental health? We got 40-40, so that's pretty good. Yeah. Oh, and I think people are still doing this, so it's fine. So we've got no for 50% and yes for 33.3%. Which one do you think is the most common mental health problem? Okay, depression and anxiety. Those answers are correct. I put in a very interesting one. I don't think some people know what this is. Amphotemnophilia. This is a mental health disease where people want to amputate a part of their body. It's very rare. You may never heard of it. But yeah, another one that I pulled was obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. A lot of people do know this, and a lot of people associate it with people that are constantly cleaning and so on. And people say, they have OCD, but it's actually a lot more complicated than that. Some people OCD have to do stuff repetitive to like ease themselves, whether it's knocking on a door 3 times in a row, 7 times. It's really very broad, so there's a lot to go on about that. So yeah, depression and anxiety are the most common mental health problems, and we will talk about that more today. And then, what is your go-to activity to ease stress? Okay, so we have 12.5% of you said physical activity, 37.5% said praying and making dua, 0 for shopping, 12.5% for eating favorite foods, 37, and it's changing again, 30% for talking to my friends. Okay, me personally, praying and making dua is definitely a big one, but honestly, shopping is also there. I am a stress shopper, and as a uni student, you're broke, so you're shopping with money that you don't have. So yeah, I do love to shop when I'm stressed. It's bad. eating my favorite food is also another thing that I love to do. So yeah. And then the last one was, which source do you go to first for help with your mental health? And 50% said the Holy Quran and 50% said the internet. I'm very surprised no one said Dr. Imam, the Hadith, or my parents, but that's very interesting. I definitely think we can talk about that more. Okay. Oh, someone said doctor. Okay, so that's great. That was just a little warm up so you guys can see what we will be talking about today. Now let's go back onto the presentation. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. And I've noticed that Sister Aisha is doing a lot of talking. I would really appreciate everyone can just, yeah, everyone can just, say a little bit, because I do have, this presentation is a lot of questions and it's very interactive. So I'd really appreciate if you can say at least one or two things and whatnot. And talking about interactiveness, the first question is, what is mental health? What do you guys, when you hear the word mental health, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Anyone? We have a few people on here. Hello. Come on, guys.
What I can do is I can randomly select people. I think over time our group sort of like that to be order. So
Salam alaikum, Aisha, and everybody. What I think about mental health is what come in my mind is that the person is depressed, or the person need some time to talk, and you can help a friend of the person. Sometimes you need little thing, but sometimes it's really need medical help. But in the beginning, it needs that you help the person is depressed. That's what I think about it actually for the first question.
Okay, that's good. Does anyone else have an input? Even if you just break down the words, what is mental, what is health? That's another way you can look at it. So does anyone else have any input?
I think for me, I want to hear more from the youth. So I would like the youth to tell us their understanding. Jazakallah khair, Sister Nora, for that beautiful understanding. And Sister Aisha put in the group as well that what comes to mind is you think about depression. But I want to hear from you young ones here. So I'd like to call on Abdul Hakim. Could you please, in one line, tell us what you understand, what you think mental health is about? Because I think a lot of times we might have displaced understanding of something, which is why we're here to sort of clarify using the Islamic perspective. So if Abdul Hakim is available to unmute himself and explain to us what his understanding is. If not, then I'll call on Abiola Ibrahim, the next person.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, I would define mental health as like your psychological state. It's a way of kind of like measuring or assessing a person's psychological state, be it they're depressed, anxious, or any other mental illness that is affecting them. It's just in a way of describing and affecting someone's psychological state that affects their emotional, physical, and mental well-being.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. So let's get straight into this. So like I said at the start, everything I'm going to give you guys is from the NHS website or from scholars and articles, because I want to give you guys the right information so you guys can take it in. So mental health, this is a definition from the World Health Organization. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make healthy choices. We can also say that mental health is a static state. You're either mentally healthy or mentally ill. Individuals are deemed mentally healthy if they are not suffering from psychological dysfunction or impairment, such as anxiety, depression, etc. And we all know there's so much more different mental health issues. I think a lot of people do know the common ones, anxiety and depression, but there are a lot more. So next, Islam and mental health.
Nice to tell you, Yasmin. I think we're still seeing your service screen. Can we see your actual
Okay, hold on.
PowerPoint screen, please? Thank you.
Can you guys see this?
We can see the survey, the AHAS lines.
Can you see this?
We can see it now, it's fine.
Okay, that's great. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so now we're gonna look at what Islam and mental health and how they relate. So Islam values the importance of good mental health and emotional well-being. I'm gonna pause there. When I see that and hear that, you can link that to a lot of things in the sense of your spirituality, how if you're not in mental health, how it affects your prayer, how you make dua, how you socialize, and so on. So mental health does have a very, very big impact on you as a person and you practicing your religion in general. And there's a lot of quotes and hadiths that do, what's the word I'm looking for, that do correspond to mental health, how to address it and so on. And you honestly just have to do some digging and look into the Quran. There's a lot of surahs that do talk about your mental health and so on. I'm dragging a bit, but yeah, let's go back into it. So the Quran can be used as a guide to those suffering from emotional distress and aims to lead people to a meaningful quality of life. So there's a hadith that says, there is no disease that Allah has created except that He also has created its treatment. If you look at that hadith and you relate it back to mental health, you can easily just say, yes, we have mental health issues. Allah has created that, but there are remedies and things you can do to help you ease that. And that's what we're going to look into today. Another quote is from the Holy Quran, another ayah from the Holy Quran. And we send down of the Quran that which is healing and mercy to the believers. The Quran can be used as a guide to those suffering from emotional distress and need sufferers for more meaningful and quality of life. Okay, we've said that already. So now we're going to look into some mental health issues, common mental health issues that you guys know and so on. So I feel like we've said anxiety and depression a lot already. So does anyone know any other common mental health issues? I don't know if people are typing in the chat. I can't see at the moment. So you're going to have to unmute yourself and say your answers.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Would like bipolar be one?
Yes. Bipolar is one. Does anyone else have another one?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD. Let's get three more.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
About psychotic disorder.
Yes, that's a very broad one, but yes. Anyone
Eating
else?
disorder.
Eating disorders, yes. Yeah. One more.
Assalamu alaikum again.
Yeah.
With dementia.
Dementia, yes. Dementia is one. So yeah, those are definitely some good common ones. And if you actually go onto the World Health Organization, I do believe they have over like 90 mental health issues that are common at the moment. So you guys can definitely have a look at that. So I'm going to talk about the 5 most common ones that you guys probably know. Stress is a mental health issue. I know it's very vague, this and that, but it is classified as a mental health issue. So stress is defined as the body's response to demand. Stress can be physical. Wait, hold on, guys. Let me try and make this bigger. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So too much stress can cause minor illnesses, backaches, headaches. They can also increase your blood pressure. I think a lot of people have heard of high blood pressure. Stress can affect that. So when it says physical, high blood pressure. Stress can also cause a lot of coronary heart disease, heart problems, and stress is also a symptom of a lot of other mental health problems like anxiety. So the next one is generalized anxiety disorder. This is a feeling of fear and worry. Usually you might feel a bit nauseous, you might feel lightheaded, sweaty palms, dry mouth, shortness of breath, panic attacks. It can lead on to that. And that's another mental health issue, panic attacks. So this is like a sudden moment where you feel discomfort or fear and so on. And it could lead to shortness of breath, increased heart rate, dizziness, and in some cases, some people do pass out. Another one is major depressive disorder. So as we know it, depression, but depression can be classified in several ways. There's different types of depression. Another common one that you guys do know is PTSD, and it can also come, I don't know if you guys know where in like high school and so on, I can't remember the book, but you hear about PTSD when in this book where soldiers come back from war and have PTSDs and so on, you have that. But you can, women after pregnancy can also have PTSD and depression and so on. And another one, this is one of the common one, marital issues. We don't need to go into that. We're still a bit young, but it's another big topic that is also a common mental health issue. Marital issues do develop into that and so on. I also do have a list and it includes a lot of things that you guys did say. So there's personality issues, bipolar, identity issues, drug and alcohol problems, deliberate self-harm, which eventually lead to suicide. So those are some other very, very common ones in youth and young adults and so on. So next page. Okay, we are going to talk about 3 main ones: anxiety, stress, and depression. So when you guys hear the word anxiety, what does that mean to you, or what do you associate it to?
Assalamu alaikum. I think I would associate it with like having panic attacks or something like that.
That's a good one. Anyone else? Anyone else? What do you guys think of the word anxiety? When you hear the word anxiety, like what's the first thing that pops up in your mind?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I think of like butterflies that you get in your stomach when you feel worried or like you feel light and your heart palpitations as well, or sometimes you feel sweaty.
Yeah, that's a really good one. When I personally think of anxiety, I know after being in lockdown, in the pandemic and everything, and being like allowed to go out, I definitely had anxiety when it came to being in large groups of people. it was just one, it was strange. It was hard for me to like socially interact with people, and I'll get like really nervous and so on. And then it's also the fact that there's so many people, but we still have COVID that's going around. So that is definitely something I'm still dealing with, because I feel like my university personally, we're still not doing full classes. We still haven't been in proper lecture rooms. Very soon we're going to do that. That is something that I'm definitely going to struggle with. Anxiety is definitely one of the most common mental health issue in our society at the moment. So yeah, so let's get into that. So anxiety. Anxiety, this is also from the NHS website, guys. All the links are at the bottom, so you can go straight and have a look at it yourself. So anxiety is a feeling of unease, such as worry or fear, that can be mild or severe. Generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, there are different types of anxiety, guys. There's so many, so you can also have a look at that on the NHS website, but we're only going to focus on generalized anxiety. So GAD is a long-term condition that causes you to feel anxious about a wide range of situations and issues rather than one specific event. People with GAD, feel anxious most days and often struggle to remember the last time they felt relaxed. Symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder can both be physical and psychological. They vary from person to person, but can include feeling restless or worried, having trouble concentrating or sleeping, dizziness or heart palpitations. So like, I can't remember who said it, but someone said butterflies. That can also do your heart rate increasing, decreasing, and dizziness. But butterflies is definitely something that we do associate with anxiety. So I don't know if, there we go, yeah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, those who believe and whose hearts find comfort in the remembrance of Allah, surely in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find comfort. When you hear that ayah, what do you think of? Can I just get one answer and I'll tell you guys what I think of? Anyone? Those who believe and whose hearts find comfort in the remembrance of Allah, surely in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find comfort. Anyone? One answer? Okay, it's fine. So,
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
When I remember that ayah, my mind goes at rest. I know I can rely on Allah. Whatever is bothering me at that particular moment, I know Allah is aware of it and is able to take care of it for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I can definitely relate to that. I think for me, when you're in that moment, for example, let's say I walk into a lecture room with over 150 students, and the first thing that pops into my head is like, oh my God, so many people, I need to socialize, I need to interact, yada, 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 or even COVID, pandemic, this and that. I'm too much in my head and I don't remember Allah is protecting me. Whatever my worries are going through, Allah is there and Allah will protect me. So when I see that ayah, it's basically saying, remember Allah. You have all these problems, all these worries, but first put Allah first and Allah will guide you through anything and take you through it safely. So that's what I think when I hear about the ayah. But also you can say du'as that will help you in that moment. And the most common one that I know is La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no might, no power except with Allah. And you can say that dua and that can reassure you that whatever you're going through in that moment, Allah is there. Okay, so that is anxiety. I also put another dua, but there are over like 10, 20 duas that you guys can use in that moment when you are, whether you're having a little panic attack or whatnot, and anxiety's hitting in, there are those duas. So the next one that we will be looking at is stress. What does the word stress mean to you, or what do you associate it with? Anyone? Or when do you feel the most stressed out? Like, what's that moment in your life that stressed you out the most or always stresses you out? I feel like there's a very, very common one that... Did someone say exams? Hello? Anyone? What does the word stress mean to you, or what do you associate it with? At least 2 answers would be great.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Yes, and a good example is when one is going to an exam, maybe a driving test. You have the driving tutor beside you, and then you're going through the roads and you just make one silly mistake and you're like, oh my God, what have I done? Yeah, I've gone through that and I know what it means.
That's a good one. So as a student, I am stressed 24/7. Every second of my day, I'm thinking, exams, this to do, this to study, this to that, this and that. If you're in high school, you have your GCSEs, you know that feeling, the pressure from your parents to do well, the pressure from yourself, which is the worst pressure ever, from yourself, from your friends. If you're very competitive like me, there's so much pressure that really stresses you out. Or your A-levels, I'm so happy I'm done with it. If anyone is doing your A-levels right now, good luck. That is definitely a very, very stressful situation. And yeah, it gets better after A-levels if you're still doing your A-levels, but you get used to it. So stress, exams is definitely a big one. So I'm going to read something out of this book that my mum gave me. It's called Don't Be Sad. We'll talk about this book later. And this is a very good point when it has to do with school and whatnot. It says, when I was in school, I was studied diligently to be first among my classmates. After I handed in my examination paper, I would fall into a state of worry, fear, and anxiety. I would go home, check the answers from the book, give myself a grade, and then repeat the process all over again. It is obvious now, in retrospect, that not once did my nervousness raise my grades by a single percentage point. I believe everyone has gone through that phase where you have a big exam, you're going through the book, you're looking through the book to see if you wrote down the right answers, did you write down what the mark scheme wants, or you're trying to calculate like, oh yeah, I think I definitely got like a B and A, this and that. Guys, you're just aiding to your stress. Once you've done the exam, it's over, move on. But yeah, when I think of the word stress, it's school. School is the first thing that comes to it. But don't get me wrong, sometimes it is a good stress and it is a bad stress. So yeah. So let's get into this. Okay. So stress is the body's reaction to feeling threatened or under pressure. It's very common, can be motivating to help us achieve things in our daily life, and can help us meet the demands of home, work, and family life. But too much stress can affect our mood, our body, and our relationships, especially when it feels out of our control. It can make us feel anxious and irritable and affect our self-esteem. Experiencing a lot of stress over a long period of time can also lead to feeling of physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion, often called burnout. Signs of stress or burnout: if you're stressed, you may feel overwhelmed, having racing thoughts or difficult concentrating, be irritable, feel constantly worried, anxious, or scared, feel a lack of self-confidence, have trouble sleeping, or feel tired all the time. Avoid things or people you're having problems with, be eating more or less than usual, drink or smoke more than usual. So I definitely believe first of all, I can relate to a lot of things there when I'm stressed, eating more or less. When I have an exam, I probably won't eat throughout the whole day because I'm stressed. Or if I need to confront something or someone, I might eat my way throughout that day. Yeah, so there's a lot of symptoms I bet we can all relate to. So there are really two surahs from the Quran that are very good, that help reduce stress when you read them. Surah Duha. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals Surah Duha at a time when our Prophet ﷺ was depressed to soothe him. For the man who suffered the most in this world, it was something very soothing. The surah reminds the Prophet of the blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has opened for him and asks him to help the poor and the needy and to mention of the blessings of Allah upon him. It's like, now just that paragraph in itself, I feel like that is also something that is very reassuring, because even the Prophet was stressed before, and Allah sent him this surah to help him. So, you're not alone. Everyone does get stressed, and it's very, very common. Another surah is Surah Inshira. Allah tells the Prophet wasallam about how Allah has eased the pain that the Prophet felt internally by revealing to him the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions how he will raise the mention of his Prophet around the world, and today, every second somewhere on earth, the adhan is going on, and someone somewhere is saying, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions that both before hardship and after hardship is ease. Then he instructs the Prophet to pray to his Lord after he is done with his duties to the people. When I hear that, I remember this thing that my mom always tells me. She says, Allah never gives you something that you cannot handle. There's nothing in this world that Allah will present to you that you cannot handle. No matter how hard it is, He wouldn't give you something that you can't handle yourself. So that is definitely something that you should definitely reflect on, and it's basically what this surah is kind of telling us. So definitely, if you're ever feeling stressed, maybe after you say your prayer, Maghrib time, you can sit down, read through the surah. It doesn't have to be in Arabic. It could also just be the English version, so you can understand the meaning of it and so on. So also I did put some du'as there. The du'as for stress and anxiety are very similar. So you guys can always have a look at that. I put the PowerPoint in the group chat, and you can go through that as well. So lastly, depression. When you guys hear the word depression, what does that mean to you, or what do you associate it with? I'm going to start off with just saying, when I hear the word depression, the first thing that pops into my head is sadness. Sadness and depression, that's one thing that I definitely relate together, but there is a lot more. So does anyone have anything to say? What does it mean to you, and what do you associate it with? At least 3 answers would be great.
To me, depression includes a feeling of like hopelessness, not enjoying things you used to enjoy, and just generally lacking motivation to do things.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. Anyone else?
Assalamu alaikum. For me, when I think of depression, I think of like an endless tunnel of darkness, or maybe lack of motivation.
Okay, that's really good. Very deep, but that's really good. Anyone else? At least one more. Depression, guys. You can think of the Great Depression, or just even the word itself. I know if a lot of you do A-level psychology, depression is definitely a very big part that is talked about. So you guys do know a lot about it. I don't know if you guys are shy, but it's okay. We'll just move on. So depression. So like I said at the beginning, when I think of the word depression, sadness, but it's definitely way, way more than that. But a lot of people do associate depression with being sad for a very long period of time, sometimes even a short period of time. So people do associate that with depression. But depression is more than simply feeling unhappy or fed up for a few days. Depression is a mental health condition characterized by intense negative emotions such as sadness, pessimism, or despondency to a point that it interferes with how one goes about their day. So if you guys don't know what pessimism is, it's basically being negative all the time. And I can definitely put my hands up for that. I can be negative sometimes. So most people do go through periods of feeling down, but when you're depressed, you feel persistently sad for weeks or months rather than just a few days. Depression affects people in different ways and can cause a wide variety of symptoms. They range from lasting feelings of unhappiness and hopelessness to losing interest in things you used to enjoy and feeling very tearful. Many people with depression also have symptoms of anxiety. There can be physical symptoms too, such as feeling constantly tired, sleeping badly, having no appetite, or increase in appetite, and various aches and pains. The symptoms of depression range from mild to severe. At its mildest, you may simply feel persistently low in spirit, while severe depression can make you feel suicidal, that life is no longer worth living. So symptoms do include persistence of sadness, anxiousness, or emptiness, feeling of hopelessness or pessimism, irritability, feelingness of guilt, worthlessness, or helplessness. And there's so much more. So you guys can definitely have a read of that. Before I go into the duas of depression, the Quran does say that we shouldn't be sad for too long, or, you shouldn't be depressed for too long. And I do understand that it's very hard if you do have depression. And this is why we do have duas that help, prayers, and so on. And most importantly, if you do have that long-lasting depression, like I said at the beginning, do you seek medical attention? Because sometimes you do need some physical health, whether it's medication, therapy, CBT. There's a lot that can help you with depression. So I also put the duas, some 3 important duas that really do help with depression: when you're upset, when you're distressed and worried. And I think I'll send you guys a link with more duas in there that do help. One good one is Rabbi la ushriku bihi shay'an. That translates into Allah, my Lord, do not associate anything with him. So that's a good one. That's just a phrase that you can definitely say when you are at your lowest. So those are the 3 main ones that I did want to talk about. Now, lastly, what are some practices, tips that we as humans, as well as Muslims, can do to help with our mental health? So does anyone have any ideas? I'm going to throw out some basic ones that I think we all know. Physical activity, going out for walks, eating good food. Does anyone else know anything else? Just throw them out. It could be anything, whether it's being more on the Islamic side or even just in general. Does anyone have any practices or tips that we can do? Hello, there's like 20 people on here. So come on, guys. Practices, tips that we can do. Anything? Anyone have any ideas?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
You could find a new hobby to keep yourself entertained in the meantime.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Hello?
Sorry?
Yeah, I said that's a really good one. That's a very good
Thank you.
point. Anything else you think we could do?
Yoga.
Yoga, okay. That also physical activity, that's a good one. Anyone else?
Holiday, if you can go to holiday.
Yeah, if you can afford it, definitely. It doesn't even have to be anything fancy, you know. I feel like a lot of us just stay in the UK. There's a lot of places to visit, like Wales and whatnot. So holiday is a very good one. Anything else? Maybe like 3 more.
Meditating.
Meditating, yes, that's a good one. 2 more. Anyone?
Just not think about your worries and just think about other things and that so then you forget about it.
Yeah, that's a good one. So that's like, you know, trying to keep yourself busy so you don't focus on that. That's a good one, yeah. Anything else? 1 more? One more? Okay, it's fine, guys. So I put a lot of different types. So I'm going to focus on the good Islamic ones. So praying in congregation, praying in Jama'ah. Pray with other people instead of alone. If you can pray all 5 prayers in congregation, at least find 1 or 2 prayers you can pray with others. So that's also, you know, just for you to know you're not alone. And yeah, make the Quran your partner. Reading and listening to the Quran will help refresh our hearts and our minds. Recite it out loud or in a low voice. Sleep the way the Prophet slept. This one is a really, really good one. And I could definitely say sometimes it is difficult if someone upsets you at night or, you know, but definitely, you know, try your best. So end your day on a positive note. One thing you can definitely do is sit down and reflect on your day. Like forget about the bad that happened, but list all the good that happens. And sometimes even just the basic things. I woke up today. That's a really, really big thing. Some people, you know, you woke up today. Some people didn't get to wake up that day, so definitely take it in. There's one at the top, it's a bit covered right now. But yeah, like the rest of you said, you know, be physical. Activity does help so much. Learning new skills, someone definitely said that. Pay attention to the present. Someone did say that, you know, keep yourself busy and focus on what's in front of you. Connect to other people. If you're a social butterfly, you know, maybe talking to other people, that helps a bit. And then lastly, ask him, he listens. Dua and prayer. Pray to Allah to ease whatever struggle you're going through. It's the best way to go about it. Honestly, make sure you do your 5 daily prayer. And yeah, so we are almost done, guys. So I gave you guys some facts about mental health because I do feel like a lot of people still do have some misconceptions about it, but mental health affects a lot of people. So one good fact is across the US, young people are reporting more depression. Rates of depression have increased in kids, teens, and young adults. The most common mental health disorders in America right now are anxiety disorders, mood disorders, psychotic disorders, dementia, and eating disorders. And I do believe they are the exact same in the UK. Mixed anxiety and depression are the most common mental health disorders in Britain, with 7.8% of people having diagnosis for them, with 4 to 10% of people in England. So 4 to 10% of people in England will experience depression. Some of the most common mental health issues in men are depression, anxiety disorders, schizophrenia, PTSD, and substance abuse. So there are so many facts about your mental health that we can definitely talk about more. And also, 1 in 4 women experience depression compared to 1 in 10 men. So depression is more common in women. And like I did say at the beginnings, some women, I think a lot of women do actually experience depression after giving birth, or even in the process of conception and just trying to get pregnant in general. A lot of women do end up with depression during that process. And about 1 in 4 adults suffer from a different type of mental disorder. So yeah, when it says adults, it also does relate to young adults. So that's definitely something to have a look at. And lastly, I'm going to give you guys a hadith and a little story time to end this off. So the hadith I'm going to give you is from Aisha, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So she was one of the earliest Muslims to diagnose and treat illnesses with herbal remedies. So Abu Darda reported, the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Allah sent down the disease and the cure, and for every disease he made a cure. Seek treatment, but do not seek treatment by the unlawful. So she used to make remedies, different types of remedies, help people with anxiety, depression, and even bereavement, induced psychosis. So this kind of, when I see this hadith, for me in the modern day, it kind of just tells us, that it's, you need to, sometimes you do need to seek out remedies, whether it's medicines, antidepressants, antipsychotics. If it comes to that, it's okay to seek out these remedies by your doctors and whatnot. So lastly, I'm going to tell you guys a little story. I know you guys might have heard of this story or this quote, trust in Allah, but tie up your camel. So this is one that my mom told me when I told her I wanted to do this presentation. And basically, one day a man came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he came with his camel, and he left his camel and he came into the mosque where the Prophet was. And the Prophet asked him, where's your camel? Did you tie your camel? And he said, no, I believe in Allah, so I just left it, Allah will take care of it, no one will steal it, and this and that. And the Prophet said to him, believe in Allah, trust in Allah, but still tie your camel. So what do you guys, when you guys hear that story, how can you relate that to everything we've said today? And I feel like I've kind of said, the meaning at least 2 or 3 times today already. Does anyone have any thoughts on that little story? Anyone? Trust in Allah, but tie up your camel. Anyone? Does anyone have anything to say about that little story and how we can use it and how it relates to what we said today? Sister Aisha, do you have anything to say about that little story?
Yeah, I was just trying to give everyone else a chance to say something. I think for me, Jazakallah khair, first of all, to Sister Yasmin, who's taking the time to prepare this beautiful slide for us about mental health. Obviously, our platform here is for the youth, but we are happy that some parents joined us as well today, because when the parents know they can empower the children, they can engage the youth. So the message here is for the youth, really. If you look at the whole information that Sister Yasmin has provided for us, so it's about our mental health. We all have something in the body, which we know is the brain that functions, which sort of gets all the information from the rest of the body for us to feel how we feel. So on some days we're well, some days we're unwell. Likewise, we can have a situation where the brain is unwell. And before the brain becomes unwell, it could be a series of events that creates this. And like Sister Yasmin mentioned, there are about 19 diseases that can happen. And you've all chipped in, said something about, you given examples of these diseases and things. So the key things I want you all to take from this is, as youth, you're young. I think a lot of times as youth, we think we're young, where, we got the world on our side, we can do anything we want. So linking it back to the story is reminding us that yes, as Muslims, we believe in Allah, but at the same time, we must do the physical actions, to combine belief. So as Muslims, we're encouraged that our body has right over us. So we must look after our body. We must eat the right food. So a lot of times the youth, you prefer to just have junk food. So a lot of times this junk food over time, stores in the body, and when the least time you expect it, could go into different sort of diseases to the body, which then might affect the mind or the brain. So from what we've heard about tying our camels and trusting in Allah, is we need to look within ourselves. What are the practical things we can do to tie our camel? So that once we've tied our camel, we're looking after our health, we're reading the Quran. As Sister Yasmin suggested, you're praying in congregation. If you're a man, go to the masjid. One of the things Allah likes is the heart of the man is attached to the masjid. The sisters can pray together at home rather than just sitting up in your room 2-3 minutes, you've done your prayers. You can come together and pray in congregation at home. Do practical things. When you don't feel well or something is stressing you or bothering you, speak to somebody you can confide in. Go to your parent, because sometimes we often feel that our parents don't understand. Our parents are not on our level, but they do understand, because bear in mind, they are the most caring person to you in the world. So before seeking out friends, seek your parents' help, seek your aunties in the community, or even your aunties and your uncles that that can help you. Seek Allah's help, and be in the right atmosphere, environment, because a lot of things that add up to cross this brain illness oftentimes could be a result of our own actions. So let's look at things that we know are not right for us and stay away from it to avoid any mental issues. And then when we feel stressed with anything, ask for help. Look for practical ways of distressing yourself. Like Yasmin mentioned, she would go shopping. Again, go shopping if that helps, but don't go shopping and then get overdrawn and then you're stressed that you haven't got money. So keep a balance. The thing, as Allah says in Surah Imran, He has blessed our religion. He has named our religion as Al-Islam, and we're the middle nation. And while we're the middle nation, we're the balanced people, because Allah then said, we enjoy the good and we forbid the evil. So enjoying the good is not only about telling somebody else, it's about also reminding ourselves. So whatever we do, we must be balanced. We shouldn't be extreme. We shouldn't eat too much because we know it has an implication. And we should not eat because we want to be size 8 or something, because that has an implication as well. So be balanced, eat healthy, sleep well, because a lot of times social media keep us late, stay awake till late. So all the bad habits we know we are forming, let's unform them, because we want to tie our camels and then put our trust in Allah, that Allah will bless us with good health. And may Allah bless us all with good health. So, Jazakallah khairan. It's been really an eye-opener and a very important topic, which I feel it's very due for us to discuss as youth and moving forward from here. What do we do with it? So I think I'd like to pass over to Sister Yasmin if you've got any more things to say to round up this topic.
Yeah. Lastly, I do. So my mom gave me this book called Don't Be Sad, and it's basically, I don't know if you guys have heard about this book. The author basically talks about his life, what the Quran says, what Dua says, about different aspects in your life. So I did put a link on there for you guys to get the book on, like, the document, the PDF version of the book. it has different things. You don't have to read the whole book in itself. Literally each chapter has its own like personality and you can relate to it. So for example, you are unique, so be yourself, don't lose hope, and what brings about happiness and whatnot. Different stories about his life, what the Quran says about being sad, happiness, anxiety disorders, eating disorders, anything you can think about with your mental health is in this book. And every point it reflects back to the Quran, and it also relates to our modern life in our society, social media and whatnot. So it's definitely a good book, and I would definitely recommend it for like ages 12 plus. You can definitely have a look at this book. So yeah, and thank you so much everyone for having me, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little presentation. If you have any questions, please do ask and whatnot. I will try to give the best advice I can give. I'm not perfect myself. I still have to ask my mom and my aunties and everyone when I do need to seek out help, when I do have any problems. But all we can do as a community is help one another and not to judge, but give as much information as we can. So yeah, thank you so much, and I'm done. So yeah. End of. I don't know.
Thanks, Yasmin, for that. I think another book we can add in for the sisters is a book called "You Can Be the You Can Be the Happiest Woman." Let me see the author of this book. So it's a sort of like a similar book to Don't Be Sad. So again, it's in chapters. So it gives you practical approach from Islamic perspective. You can be the happiest woman in the world. It's a treasure chest of reminders. So it's little chunks of reminders for us. And this is by Dr. Aid Al-Qani. I believe it might be the same author actually. So that's another book you can read alongside.
Yeah, the same author.
Yeah.
He does really good books.
I'm conscious that the time is 5 o'clock, 10 past 5 precisely, and I know after us come in, so I'm just concerned if we want to break for prayer or carry on and finish up. So Biba, would you like to advise on that?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. I think we should quickly carry on so that we can finish once and for all, then everybody can say their prayers. On behalf of the youth, I would like to express my gratitude to Yasmin. May Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and bless everyone on the platform. Jazakallahu khairan for your time, for presenting that beautiful lecture, very thought-provoking and educative. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of Majesty, Azza wa Jalla. We thank him for another beautiful session today. And then, today's topic just complements what we discussed 2 weeks ago on what really matters to an individual when it comes to COVID. We know COVID-19 is not a leverage. Everybody is affected differently. And then we all been impacted one way or the other due to the effect of COVID. Today's topic really resonated well, and inshallah, I hope we all benefit from it. And then, full of wisdoms that we can apply to distress ourselves from, the impacts that we are having as a result of COVID-19. So I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to make means and ways for us from quarters where we have no expectations. May Almighty Allah continue to bless each and every one of us. And from the feedback that I have last fortnight ago was just about, the results. Some of the reasons why many of us are agitated, results, and my parents have spent so much, I don't want to make them feel let down. So these are some of the worries that, our youth are facing. And then another comment from one sister was that, comparison of our parents, comparing their children to other children, or comparing even within siblings, is not something that go on well with our youth. So maybe some of our parents are on this platform, we should please take note of this, that, you know, our children, they have different strengths, weaknesses, and then we need to support them according to their ability. So comparing our children to other children, you know, we African is very common. So it's not something that is really, you know, go down well with our youth. So those are some of the things that we need to take note. And then these are some of the things that, you know, add stress to our youth. Alhamdulillah, Yasmin has given us so much information on how to get rid of stress that we are facing in our day-to-day life. So the slide will be shared on your platform. So we try to look into this, and then that point, that praying in Jama, consulting people that you know that will be of help to you, is very important. So not just anybody that can be of help, not just anybody that can, you know, that you can consult. If you consult some people, they will add even salt to the wound that you are having. So you don't want those kind of people in your life. So it's better for you to identify the right people that you can make that proper connection with. It's very important. There's no point hanging out with some people, groups, peer pressures that we know eventually can derail us. So it's something that we need to be watchful of. Don't hang out with people that you know they can lead you to substance misuse. Substance misuse is not going to help. It's not going to add any value to our life. So we need to open our eyes clearly, openly, and make sure that we hang out with a group of people that we add values to our life. Okay? So I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to guide us aright. So may Allah, in His infinite mercy, shower His blessings on every one of us. So I will ask maybe Sister Aisha to continue. So may Almighty Allah make our affairs easy. May Almighty Allah, He knows where we are having the impingement of pains in us. So may Almighty Allah take all our pains, sorrows, worries, stress that we are encountering. May Almighty Allah take them away from us and replace them with something better for us in our life and in our hereafter. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending today's program. May Almighty Allah reward you all. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Wa alaikum salam.
For that beautiful addition from Biba. So as part of our youth session, which we host every 2 weeks, we are currently studying a book. Abiba, if you could please give me the permission to share my screen so I can show the book we're going through. So we're going through a book at the moment. It's a book on fiqh, and it's something that would benefit every one of us. So we're actually now on chapter 6, and chapter 6 is on ablution, wudu, which is something I know we can all benefit from. But I think I'd like to take a slightly different approach. Perhaps maybe we could just recap what we've done for the last 5 chapters so that everyone on the platform can benefit as well, because going straight to wudu might be something of a strange thing for them. So whilst I wait for my screen, whilst I wait for me to share my screen. So the book we sent, the PDF, we shared it in the Across-the-World charity as well. So it's a book you can download yourself. It's called, I'll give you the name of the book, A Concise Summary of Islamic Jurisprudence, and it's by Sheikh Dr. Salih Al-Fawzan. So I'm just going to share my book on the screen, just bear with me. Can you please, Biba, if you could give me the permission to share, then I can share my book on the screen. I'm going to try, and as we speak again, see if I can download it to the group. So just after that. So screen share. Okay, so it's this. So this is what the book looks like. I hope everyone can hear me. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So we're in chapter 6, which is ablution. But I'd like to take the book right to the beginning, so to sort of get everyone involved as well. So if anyone is interested, you can download this book by just searching for it online, and you can get the PDF version online if you prefer, or you could buy the book if you prefer. So I'm using the PDF version online. So it's handy to have it on my computer, and you can always refer back to it. So it's a summary of Islamic jurisprudence, and it's volume 1. There's a volume 2. We're currently looking at volume 1. And then, as the hadith says, the Prophet ﷺ says, if Allah wants to do good for a person, he makes him understand the religion. So the book we're studying here is by Dr. Saleh Al-Fawzan. He's Professor of Islamic Jurisprudence. He's a member of the Board of Senior Ulama, and member of the Permanent Committee for Fatwa and Research. He's written this book in a very easy to understand way, as best as we can, in a very academic way, so as we can follow as well. So far, we've taken 5 topics, and I'd just like to recap on that, because I think when it comes to Islamic knowledge, it's not about how far or where are you in terms of what you're reading. It's more about how well we know it, because when we know things, then we can apply it, and when we can apply things, we can also then explain it to others, and pass on the message, because that's the whole idea, of learning to become a better person, implementing what we've learned, and sharing what we've learned with others so they can benefit as well. So the very first topic we took was about purification of water. It's going to be a very concise summary because I'm conscious of time, and I'd like that we all come back in 2 weeks' time again. Everyone was able to join today. Bring your friends, bring family, because this is to do with our deen. And as the Prophet also says, if Allah wants good for us, He will teach us our deen. So this is one way of Allah teaching us our deen, by enabling us to be on this platform today, letting us know about this book that we can actually go and read upon as well. So when it comes to purification of water, this is talking about, first it started off with prayer. So obviously we all know that to pray, you need to be in a state of purification. So, and prayer is the second pillar of Islam. It's a very important part of our deen. So prayer is important. And when prayer is important, every aspect leading to prayer must be taken seriously as well, which includes how we connect to prayer. And how we connect to prayer is through wudu. If you're in a state of purity, we can connect to Allah. We can pray. If you're not in a state of purity, you cannot. What are the ways of how we pray? So how do we connect? We use the water, or we do tayammum. Tayammum is a dry ablution. In the case of using water, for this topic, it's about the purity of the water. So water must be clean, without any smell, without any taste to it, for us to be able to use. So that was the key part of this chapter. The second chapter we looked at was in relation to disbelievers' pots and clothing. This might be a bit of a surprise, like, what does this mean? So basically, we were being told in this chapter that if there's any pots made of gold or silver, we're not allowed to eat with them or drink with them if it's a cup, because we've come to an age now where there's so much abundance, mashallah, alhamdulillah, that people don't know what to do anymore. They make this, beautiful gold cup and silver things, and, we all think it's nice and it's cute and it's good. But as Muslims, we have to remember that the Islam the Prophet brought to us is still Islam today, and we don't modify Islam. So the pots, using gold pots and silver, is for us to use in Jannah. In this dunya, we're not allowed. The only exception to that rule is if you had a cup and it cracked, and they used a little bit of silver to close the crack, then it's fine, because it's a hadith of the Prophet that backs that up for us. So we know now, stay away from using gold utensils, pots and stuff. It might look beautiful, it might look nice, but we're not allowed. We stay away from it. In terms of the hides of dead animals as well, that's something we are prohibited from using unless it's been purified with, when it's been sort of, how do I put it, tanned. So tanned meaning maybe burning or something. And in that case, when the hides of dead animals have been tanned, then it's pure for us to utilize. In terms of clothing, we're permissible to wear any kind of clothing. When I say kind of clothing, I'm talking about material. When I talk about clothing in another way, when the clothes have been made, so again, when it comes to dressing, Islam is a way of life. It's not just a religion. Yes, Allah specified in the Quran for us, Surah An-Nur specifically, for the women about how we dress. Even for the men, we don't show our aura, and we have to dress in a certain way. And when we talk about hijab, I think oftentimes hijab is being misunderstood in our modern times now. So people feel if I cover my head with a scarf or with a hat or with something, and then it's all right to wear very tight clothing because I've covered myself. No, the hijab for the women is you cover yourself fully, and nobody even knows if you're fat or you're thin. You're securely covered, and that's what hijab means. So it's the covering, and it's not just that. So if you're fully covered as well, the part of the hijab for the women as well is then, be careful of how you behave and speak in public, because again, you've got to be a modest person. So it's something that gives us that mannerism and discipline about us and how we behave, to be the better person and to be respected as well. It's one of the reasons why we women identify with our hijabs, to be respected and not to be humiliated or anything. And for our men as well, they're not allowed to wear things. The trousers must be, or their shorts cannot be above their knees, and they're not supposed to be showing their arms and things and the chest and all that. So the hijab is not just for women, it's for the men as well, and we're both advised by Allah in the Quran to lower our gaze. But when it comes to material, like getting cotton or getting silk, it doesn't matter if whoever's selling it is in Muslim, we can wear them, so long as we know they're pure, and there's nothing that makes it impure. So we're permitted to wear that. So just to round up with the hijab as well. So obviously it's something that we need to take care of. I know it's something a lot of us are struggling with, but one thing we need to understand is Islam is a religion which Allah says in Surah Al-Baqarah, "O ye who believe, come into Islam wholeheartedly." So if I'm calling out to you youth as well, as Allah says in Surah Al-Baqarah, please, you might feel you're young and you're still got a life ahead of you, and you might feel like Islam is full of rules, but Islam isn't full of rules. Everything Allah's put in the Quran for us and everything we've been told to do is actually for our benefit. It's to safeguard us in one way or the other. We may not necessarily see the wisdom in it, but Allah, one of his names is Al-Hakim. So he knows the wisdom in it. We're just supposed to trust in Allah, and follow his instructions, and we would have the best of everything. So as it says to us, we should enter Islam wholeheartedly, meaning Islam is not a religion like we're going to Asda or Morrison or Lidl, where we pick up the basket and say, well, okay, I don't want vegetables, I want some bread, I want some donut, I want some chocolate. We can't pick and choose what we want to do in Islam. We follow the religion as it's been laid down by Allah and has been demonstrated to us by the Rasulullah, which is why we follow Quran and Sunnah. So what we're not advising you to do is to stress yourself and get yourself worked up because you're trying to do everything. What we're telling you to do is to learn your deen. And when you hear that this is what Islam is telling you to do, take it on board. If you're struggling to do it, make dua to Allah to make it easy for you. Have the niyyah that you want to do everything. When I say niyyah means intention. Have the intention that you want to do everything that Allah says we should do and to stay away from things Allah does not want us to do. So chapter 3 talks about things ritual impurity prohibits doing. When we talk about ritual impurities, when we're not pure enough to pray. And when we're not pure enough to pray, there's some key things we cannot do, like touching the glorious Quran, like going to the masjid, offering salat, and performing tawaf. So deeds which were prohibited in doing. So with impurity, it actually falls into two categories. There's the minor and there's the major. So for the minor one, if you're in impurity state, which means you are not in wudu, could be because you went to use the toilet, you farted or something. So, or you ate the camel's meat. So things that break your wudu. Once that's happened, all you need to do is put yourself back in wudu. Then you can go and pray. Then you can read the Quran. Then you can do tawaf. But when it comes to major ritual impurity, these are the ones we know that is really in relation to, when people are married and they're in a state of janaba. Another reason is when a woman is on her menses this is something Allah has decreed for women. Again, that's a major impurity. It's major in the sense that the person who's in that state, he would need to have a ghusl. When we say ghusl, they need to have a bath. So to do wudu is easy. You can just go to any available place where there's water and do wudu. But with ghusl, you're having a whole bath to purify yourself before you can come back. Or somebody who's just had a baby, so that postnatal bleeding, until it's finished and they have their ghusl, they're in a state of impurity, major impurity. So when you're in that state, you cannot recite the Quran. If you have to recite the Quran, I think it's really, really clear enough, alhamdulillah, because a lot of people, and we've asked so many sheikhs and scholars. So the major agreement with the sheikhs and scholars is, if you're in a major impurity, like maybe janaba or your menses, or even postnatal bleeding, if you're reading from your phone, then it's fine, because that's not a Quran. You're reading from a device. But if you need to read the actual Quran in the book, then you would need to wear gloves. And some scholars say you need to just read from memory what you know. You shouldn't read from the Quran. So, but the agreed consensus is, if you're reading from your phone, it's fine. So when we're not praying, it doesn't stop. When we're in a state of impurity like our menses, that shouldn't stop us not worshiping Allah. There are many other things we can do. We can do our dhikri, we can read from our phone, we can read hadith, we can read books that draw our heart closer to Allah, we can listen to talks, we can go to events and circles. Staying at the mosque, again, is another thing that we're not allowed to do in a state of major impurity. So if you have to be in the masjid, then it could either you go in to get something and you come out, or you have to do wudu to stay in the masjid. For that period, you have to be in the masjid. Chapter 4, we took etiquette of answering call of nature. As I said to you, Islam is a religion, a full religion. It's a way of life, not just a religion, beg your pardon. So it's a way of life. So Islam does not shy away from teaching us everything we need to know, so that it can make us a better Muslim. And more importantly, it can draw us closer to Allah, because that's the aim of everyone on earth. We have to remember that Allah says in Surah Dariyah, which I believe is Quran 56, verse 51, Allah says He has created man for no other reason but to worship. So everything we're doing is a worship. When we're listening to our parent, when we're obeying our parent, we're being honest, we're speaking the truth, we're praying on time, we're doing everything, we're helping others. If we remember to have the intention that you're doing it to please Allah, then it's a worship to Allah and you will be rewarded. So again, that's why Islam will tell us everything we need to know. And that's what this chapter here, chapter 4, talks about etiquette of answering call of nature. So what's the etiquette? Obviously, before we go into the bathroom, we must, remember to seek refuge in Allah, because we know the bathroom is a place where we do our undesirable things, where we don't want anyone else to be there when we're doing. So, but it's a place we need, because when the body is eating, the body's digestive system is working, we need to offload things from our body, i.e. through urine or i.e. through feces. So before we go into the bathroom or the toilet, remember to seek refuge in Allah, because we're also told that the jinns and the shayateens, they live in dirty places, and one of them is the toilets. So seek refuge in Allah from all evil, and step in with your left leg, and then when you're coming out, so when you're going in, you're saying Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuth wal kaba'ith. If you don't know this dua, please go and learn it. It's a protection for you. You're seeking refuge in Allah from the male and female evil in that bathroom or toilet before you go in, and you come out, you're saying Ghufranak, which means I seek your forgiveness. You're praising Allah who has helped you to remove the harm from your body, because we all know how we feel when you really need to go and urinate and you're holding it. It's bad for the system. So the moment you let it go, you feel so much relief. So we should be grateful for Allah who's made that happen to us. There's certain places we're not allowed to do our business as well. So not in front of doors, not in a public place, and things like that. So we should move far away, and not a place where, we're facing Qibla and things like that. Another thing is, when we go into the bath, we must not have anything that has Allah's name on it. I know in our generation now, we have these beautiful bracelets and bangles that have Ayatul Kursi, who has Allah's name on it. We have this necklace that has Allah's name on it. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, but we must not wear this kind of things to the bathroom. So you don't take anything that has Allah's name on it into the bathroom or the toilet. So we must remember that, because that's the place where the angels don't go to. It's a place where it's not clean. So we must not take Allah's name to a place that's not clean. So we must remember that and passing this message to others who may not know. So apologies if I'm going too quick, but it's a revision. So if you want to know more, please go and read the book. If anyone needs the book, you can come to, I can send it to them. It's online as a PDF file. As soon as you Google it, you'll find it. The last topic we took for today's class was on siwak, toothsticks, and acts of natural disposition. Again, like I said, Islam is comprehensive. So you might wonder, what has toothstick got to do with learning Islam? But it has a lot to do with it, because Islam says cleanliness is part of Imam. So for somebody who's clean, it's part of faith. So if you're a dirty person who's not clean, wearing nasty, stinking clothes in front of Allah to pray, then you know you're doing the wrong thing. Because like I said in our session, you wouldn't go and visit the queen looking haggard, nasty and smelling. You want to look your best to the queen's house. So likewise, when we stand in front of Allah for prayer, we must be clean. And part of being clean is also to clean our tooth, with a siwak. And we know that this is the one thing that is satisfying from the hadith of the Prophet. It says it's a way of purifying the mouth, and it is satisfying to Allah. And like I mentioned in our last session, it's like being in an exam where your teacher says, when you go into that science exam, answer all the questions, and at the end of the questions, just put a little paragraph there about what you understand about science. So for some people, you might be like, why do I have to, teacher? And teacher says, well, you don't have to, but if you do, you get some more, you get additional marks. So wouldn't you want to get some additional marks? So again, it's not something that's compulsory on us, because the Professor Sam said, if he was to make it compulsory on us, it will be hard for us. It's not compulsory, but it's something that is pleasing to Allah. So when we know something is pleasing to Allah, then we must hasten and run to do it, so that we seek Allah's blessings and His mercy. And you want Him to be pleased with us, because that's the whole idea. That's the whole reason why we're here, to please Allah. So as much as we can do, we try and do it. Rasulullah said from one hadith that there are 5 practices relating to natural disposition. One of them is circumcision, and which we know is for the boys when they're young. So again, that's about cleanliness and something to help them. And in science now, it's been even linked to the fact that boys who are circumcised are less likely to have certain diseases men have, because of that area has been cleaned away and circumcised. So there are even health benefits for these things that Islam tells us to do. Istidad, which is the cutting the mustache short and removing the when we say mustache, sorry, I always get confused. When we say mustache, is we know is the one the men have just above, underneath, just underneath the nose. So the sunnah is to keep the beard and cut off the mustache, as the Prophet Sam says. Another natural disposition is removing the hair of the armpits and clipping the nails. So these are things that we should do as Muslim, and it's all part of cleanliness. And then we talked about different, benefits of siwak and hadith of the Prophet and what siwak is about. So I would encourage us all to pick up on how we can include this. If we're already doing it, then alhamdulillah, may Allah accept it from us to keep doing it. If we're not doing it, then let us see how we can include this into our daily activities, so that we can draw even more closer to Allah, and clean ourselves even better and be even more purified. So when we talk about istidad, it means the shaving the public hair, which is the private part. And as the name suggests for you, is the razor used for shaving the hair. When we talk about circumcision, I've already talked about that, is the taking out the loose foreskin covering the male's organ. When we talk about cutting the mustache short, again, we know what that is, and there's hadith that backs that up. Clipping the nails is something we should do. And as the author says, nowadays we have a lot of people with these huge nails, mainly majority women, and feeling clicking with their nails when they're typing and things like that. It might look nice, it might look cool, but again, as Muslim, it's not the best way, because as part of cleanliness, we need to clip our nails. And we know again from science, when you don't clip your nails, you have very long nails, it is easy to store bacteria and germs underneath your fingernails, because there's room for them to stay there. But if you clip it short, then there's no room for them, and it's cleaner for us. So everything, this natural disposition Rasulullah is talking about to us is for our own benefit, to keep us clean and well. Again, the fifth one is removing the hair from the armpit. Is something we should do generally as well. So at least the practice we should do once a month, keep ourselves clean and nice and tidy. And we're going to have to sort of finish it there. So inshallah, when we all meet up again in 2 weeks' time, we'll be talking about ablution. I hope this little recap has benefited everyone who's attended before, and has also benefited those who've joined us today. If there's any questions about this, I'm happy to take it quickly before we leave. But I'd like to see us grow more. So Jazakallah khair for everybody who's been able to attend today. It'll be nice to see you come back, and let's all, study and benefit each other, because it's something we can all learn and benefit one another. Let's invite our friends to come over. Let's, whatever we've learned today, share it to others to also benefit and gain from it. And may Allah increase us all in knowledge and accept beneficial knowledge, and grant us the good of this world and the good of the hereafter. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Is there any questions, brothers, sisters, my honorable youth? Anything you'd like to say? Anything you're not clear about or unsure about? Or any contemporary issues is linked to?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
My own question is about mentioning the name of Allah in the bathroom. You just mentioned a while ago that we're not allowed to take things that have the name of Allah into the bathroom or toilet, or
that's correct.
Those kind of places. Okay, now in a situation where we want to perform ablution, and then most cases in our houses here in the UK, we have the bathroom and the toilet together, and majorly that's where most people perform the ablution. Please, how can you guide someone? Because somebody like me, I always feel uncomfortable performing ablution in the bathroom. I prefer to even go outside, because I know I have to say Bismillah before I start, and I'll feel like I'm mentioning the name of Allah in the bathroom. It's all right,
Jazakallah khair for that beautiful question. So what the sheikhs have advised us is that I think some sheikhs say, in the bathroom and the toilet, do not call Allah's name at all. So you can say that Bismillah in your mind and then start your wudu, because Islam teaches us that actions are by intention. So the moment you go into the bathroom, you're saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir rahmanir rahim, Allahumma nadhbika min al-khubuthi wal khaba'ith. So you've said that, you've sought refuge in Allah before going in, and then you're about to start your wudu, you say it in your mind, Bismillahir rahmanir rahim, you start. Some scholars are of the opinion that if you're in a toilet and a bathroom that is joined up together, then you shouldn't say it. But if you're in a place where it's just the bathroom, then the bathroom is it's a lesser of a dirty place, then you may say it, and Allah knows best. So I think perhaps the better opinion, as we've read from the book, because the author actually mentioned bathroom as well, is to just say it, Bismillah, and seek refuge in Allah before going to the bathroom, and then once you're in there, say it in your mind and do your wudu, and Allah knows best. I hope that answers your question, sister.
Yes, thank you.
Alhamdulillah. So any other questions before we wrap up for today? I'm really sorry we've gone over our usual time, but I hope everything we've said today, from mental health to advising each other and giving us practical tips and going through our fiqh book, has been beneficial, that we can make things that we can actually put into practice on a daily basis to make us a better Muslim and a better version of ourselves, inshallah. Okay, right. So I think having said this, I think we'll round up the session with Surah Asr, unless there's anyone, Sister Biba, would you like to add anything before we wrap up? Okay, all right.
I said Jazakumullahu khairan, everyone. Thank you for your time. May Almighty Allah reward you all.
Amen. So Surah Asr, everyone, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wal asr, innal insana lafi khusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilus soliyat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, Jazakallah khairan for your valuable time today. May Allah add it to your scale of good deeds and day of judgment, and make be an hujjah for us all and not against us. And I hope you can share what we've learned together today, put it into practice, and inshallah, invite your friends to come on board next week, and let's all learn together, bismillah. Take care and stay safe. All the best till we meet again. Fi amanillah, may Allah be with us all and protect us all. Take care, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye.